everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be a reading vlog and a review of The Left Turn by Becky Parker Geist. I think it's called like The Left Turn, Two Worlds Torn Apart or something. I'll put the picture of the book up here. That is because I do not have it physically. I'm listening to it on Audibly because I got a review copy from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. And I've been reading it for like the past week, I'd say. I'm about like 55% through at the moment. I am mostly enjoying it. I'll quickly tell you like the plot story. So it's basically about a couple, Hannah and James, and they're like in their 40s. Hannah is meant to have like mental health problems, but it hasn't really been explained yet, like what it actually is, like her like issues and sort of like anxiety. And James recently lost his brother, so he's sort of like dealing with grief in a way, and they both sort of like want to like happiness in a way, but they don't really know how to find it. But basically they moved to like the San Francisco Bay Area. So they just get there, and then like a few days after, they decide to go like on a bike ride near the Golden Gate Bridge, and then like in like a split second something happens, and they both get like transported into alternative versions of their lives. So I like really like the idea of the sound of it. I thought it sounded like really interesting, and on the back on the description it said like it's sort of like somewhat reminiscent of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which is a book I absolutely love. It's like one of my favourite of the year. And they said it's also a little bit like The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which is a book I found okay. I gave it a 3 stars. It wasn't really for me, but it was alright. It was like, yeah, but anyway, that's not really to this book. And so they're both sort of like trying to figure out like who they are, also like who they was, because their proper life is like in their brain, but they can't really like reach it, and they're sort of like, it's weird to describe like what they're going through, but it is quite like interesting seeing how they're sort of like making like the new friends and like a new life for themselves, but it's actually sort of like their life, but they're just trying to like roll with it. And like, so they meet up with like some certain people, and they're like, oh, like, hi Jeff or whatever, but it's just like they say it, but they don't actually remember actually ever knowing that person. It's just like, but it's because that in that alternative version they did. I'm not explaining it very well, but yeah. So yeah, so it's from the two perspectives, like it's from one's from Hannah, and then one's from James, and then Hannah and James, and they haven't like met up again yet, but they was married, and they're sort of just like going through things and like stuff. And this is one thing I say is the writing, it's sort of, I'm getting a sense that it's changing from first to like third person, and then sometimes back again or whatever, like sort of like within paragraphs, and it's just a bit like strange. It's a little bit hard to follow, and I'm not that keen on the characters at the moment. They're a little bit like, I mean, they're okay, but yeah, I'll give you an update soon. Hey, so I finally finished The Left Turn today. I listened to it when I was out, yeah. I do not feel very well. If you cannot tell, my face is very flushed, but I'm not it, but that's beside the point. So I finished the book. I don't really know what to give it. I think I'm probably gonna give it like maybe like a 3.25, 3.5. Probably a 3 on Goodreads, but I don't think it's like a proper 3. It's a little bit better. Yeah. I do kind of get how it's sort of like a mix between Alchemist and Midnight Library, in that it's like about like alternative timelines and versions of you, and if you had done something else and things. Which I do quite like. And then it's also like there is quite a lot of like sort of like destiny and that sort of like notion, which is fine. It's just it's not really something I'm that interested in. Like I don't know. It's definitely something I am like want to believe in. I guess sort of like manifesting things and like living in the now and stuff. But I'm just it's not really that enjoyable for me to read about. I do not know. But yeah. So I do kind of get that. It's definitely more alchemisty than Midnight Library. So yeah, so I tell you what it's about the two people that like get transported into life. But I'm just like, if I was them, I would have been a lot more like shook. I would have been like what? Like I need to start like finding like everything about like what actually like sort of happened, because but I mean okay, they don't exactly know that they have transported into a different life. It's just more like they've forgotten their past. I do not know, my head is not working right, but I want to film a video. Yeah, I do quite like the notion of sort of like living in the now and not like letting like negative things from our past or present or future events like impede on the now and the present, because like that's gone and that's gonna happen, but like it might not happen, you know, so it's not like how does that really affect you now? Yeah, some things are just a little bit like the characters were okay. They wasn't that nuanced. Yeah, some things were just a bit like thrown in. It's definitely, although it's like from the two people's perspective, like the chapters that are from the woman Hannah's perspective are like quite a lot bigger. And I feel like more emphasis was put on her storyline. But like that's not like necessarily a bad thing. It's just like a thought. I did originally think that it was sort of like swapping between first and third person. I do sort of like get that throughout, but I think because I obviously didn't have the physical copy to like see when it was like being like demarcated or like a change in paragraph or something, I think it is like third narrated, but when the characters are like having flashbacks or like you're sort of like going into their minds, then it is in first person, because a book I read last month that I really enjoyed, Becoming Ted, sort of did the same thing where it's sort of like Ted blah blah blah, and then in italics it's what Ted is like thinking in his head. It's like I and stuff, which I really like. I love that. So I think maybe that was similar. It's just I do not have the physical book, so I can't actually verify that, but that's just what I think. And yeah, I definitely think Marty, I absolutely loved Marty. She was like the landlady-ish woman that took Hannah in when like she didn't have like someone to stay. And also Jazz, I quite liked Jazz. She was like Hannah's friend. Most of the people in James's lives, I don't know, were not really, they didn't really stick with me really. So yeah, I need to try and write my review now. I do not feel well. Hopefully I'll be feeling better tomorrow and I'll be more enthusiastic for the video, but I do hope you enjoyed this nonetheless. And check out NetGalley if you want to apply for books. And yeah. Oh, actually, what I'll quickly do is, because I did go out today, that's why I finished reading it. I got 2 books from a charity shop. Actually, no, I got one from a charity shop. I got one from a book exchange. I'm not well, so I got it was only a little one. And I was just, because I was like, I had to just like quickly look, so I was just like, I'm gonna put my book in, take a book out, so I didn't have time to film. And this was the only one that I sort of like wanted. I got David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. But I didn't like look at it. The font is tiny. Look at the size of that. Like, it's gonna give me a migraine just trying to read that. I don't know, because I did read Christmas Carol in my last video. Check it out, I really like that. I love that story. So I was like, am I a Dickens person now? Probably not, but like, I'm ready to read another Dickens book. And this is like 700 pages and the font is tiny. But because I mean, it must be out of print. There must be an audiobook somewhere like for free online. If I can listen to it whilst I read along, that might be quite beneficial. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just about like the protagonist, David Copperfield, who is born in poverty and tries to find his place in life. And it's sort of like a information about sort of like poverty and things in Victorian England. And yeah, so yeah. And then I also got Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zusak, who is the author of the book Feed, a book I haven't read but I do want to read. And this is really cool. It was only 50p, and it's a Waterstones exclusive. It is a signed, and I've never seen it before. It has like this, like some little stickers at the back, which is fun. I don't know exactly what it's about. I was just like, I liked what you got. But it's, I do not. So I'm not gonna, you know, if you want to read that part, you can just pause it, because I do not want to read it at the moment because I do not feel well. See you tomorrow. Hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.